Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm a little bit early. Not to worry. Better than being late. I'm Kath from the Cheapskates Club. Welcome to our show tonight. I'm so glad to be here. It'd be lovely to see everybody here. I've got a great long list of people. Trish, Yvonne, Paula, Judy, Michelle, Julian, Rod, Meryl, Julia, Maureen, Estelle, Priya, Leonie. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Really nice to have you here. It's been quite a week. When did I speak to you? Last Tuesday. It's only been a week. So much has happened in that week. Wow. Lots and lots has happened in that week. Not to worry. Tonight we're going to talk about my favorite subject, stockpiling. Yay! I just love stockpiling. So if I bore you, I'm sorry. I can't help it. Once I get started, I find it very difficult to stop talking about it because it is so much fun. It saves so much money and it just makes so much sense for everyone, whether you are single person, household, a couple, small family, large family, 2 incomes, 1 income, no income, retired, rural, suburban, inner city, doesn't matter. Stockpiling makes sense for everybody. As I think quite a few people found out over the last 8 or 9 weeks with the different lockdowns that were going on. Now we need to clarify stockpiling as we do it, which is the true form of stockpiling, isn't panic buying, and it's not rushing out and buying a whole heap of stuff in one hit in a mad out of fear. It's a thoughtful process to build a pantry to a level that you are comfortable with, because everyone will have a different comfort level when it comes to how big their pantry is going to be and what's in it, because there is no right or wrong with this. The basics are the same. You just tweak them to suit you. So it's not wrong to keep your pantry stocked, to be able to look after yourself, your family, and your home. That's not wrong. That's a wise investment. That's being a good steward. And that's what, as cheapskates and as homemakers, that's what we want to do. We want to get the most for our money. We want to get the best value for the dollars that we earn. And we want them to do the very best job they possibly can. Your kitchen pantry stockpile, your laundry stockpile, your bathroom stockpile, your gift stockpile, your seed stockpile, all those things do that for you. So it's very different to what we saw a few weeks ago with the people clearing the shelves of flour and yeast and rice and toilet paper and paper towel and things like that. What we do is not that. And that is thoughtless, it's mindless, it's done in a panic and out of fear. And a lot of the people that did all that and cleared all that probably didn't have, and most likely still don't have, a plan on how to use what they bought, in which case they've blown their money. They've wasted all that money. We don't want to waste money. Our stockpiles are investments. They give us a good return on our investment, and we don't lose money on our stockpiles. So, over the last few weeks, when shopping hasn't been as normal as it could be, no doubt you've probably been eating from your pantry, eating from your fridge, eating from your freezer, using up your toiletry supplies, your laundry stockpile. And so probably by now you've got a few gaps that need to be filled. I know even for me, and because I usually shop once a year, there are gaps in our stockpile. Now, I've been thinking about this and listening to the experts and listening to people, just randoms, and doing some reading and whatever. And I have decided that for a few things that we are using quite quickly, I will be restocking now. I won't be waiting till the end of the year. I will restock now. So I've made my list. Some of those things are tinned tomato soup. Now I buy tinned tomato soup from Aldi. It's cheap. It's nice. It has a nice flavour. It has a nice body. It's not watery and thin and irky. And it's inexpensive. I buy it by the slab. Now, obviously right now, that's not going to cut it to buy it by the slab. That would just be, even for me, that I think that would just be selfish. So if over the next few weeks, when I go once a week to do the dairy and stuff, if I buy 2 tins of tomato soup, we might use one and then one's a backup. I'll be rebuilding our stockpile. Frozen veggies, a bit the same. I know that their frozen veggies were in short supply for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I don't keep a huge stockpile of frozen veg, probably about a month's worth usually, because they've never been hard to get before. So I might, buy a packet every week and put them into the freezer, although I'll tell you something new I'm going to try in a few minutes with the frozen veg. Things like that to rebuild the stockpile. But I'll be doing it slowly, and I'll be doing it within my budget, and I'll be doing it only on the things where there's gaps. I'll be refilling the gaps. Now, our stockpile is big because it lasts us for a year. You might only have a week's worth of extras in your cupboard, or you might work on the one in use and one spare routine. Sorry, I'm still recovering. One in use, one spare routine, in which case when you open one, you've got one left in the cupboard, so you'll buy another one to replace the one that you're using, that sort of thing. And that's fine. Just make a note of what the gaps are in your pantry, what the gaps are in your ingredients. I know someone got very upset because I did, back in early March, we made scones. Well, that apparently upset someone very, very much because they didn't have flour and they couldn't get flour. Well, I always keep flour, and I always keep spare flour in the house because we bake. If you're not a baker, you don't have flour in the house. If you don't do bread, you don't have yeast in the house. So, of course, if you suddenly decide, as a lot of people did in this emergency, they wanted to suddenly make bread and they went to buy flour and yeast and they couldn't get it, they were going to get upset. Now, I don't think that bread as a product was in short supply anywhere. I didn't notice any shortages of bread or rolls or flatbreads.
Only on the weekend.
Only on the weekends when they sell out.
Yeah.
But so, a lot of people were wanting to make bread so they didn't have to go out and buy it. Perhaps they could have thought ahead and gone, well, we use 1 loaf every 2 days, so 3 loaves a week. So if I buy 3 loaves, put 2 in the freezer, keep 1 out, we've got our week's bread. Then you wouldn't have to make it. It would have, panicking about it is, you don't make wise decisions when you're panicked. Never panic. No, never panic. Step back, take a breath, make a plan. So we didn't run out of anything, did we? No. No, we didn't run out of anything at all because we plan ahead. I planned 12 months ahead, so that worked. We didn't run out of anything at all. But as I said, we have gaps now that I'll be filling. Now, I have a limited grocery budget through the year for the top-ups. So I'll be looking for things that I can buy using what's left of my grocery budget each week, so that I'm not actually hitting into next January's grocery money already. So I usually have around $20, $25 that will cover milk, the odd bit of fruit or veg that we have to buy, sometimes a block of cheese or whatever. There's often money left. Now, you all know that goes into the slush fund. So I'll pretty much be using my slush fund to fill in some gaps for a while and see how we go, because I'm not going to go into debt to do it. I'm just going to work my plan. I'll make a list of what the things are that need to be filled, how many of them need to be bought to replace what we've used. And what are you doing?
The pen.
Oh,
The pencil's gone.
oh, sorry. I wondered what she was doing. I could, at the corner of my eye, see the trolley moving. So that's what I'll be doing. And that's what I suggest everyone does. Whether you have a week stockpile, whether you have a month stockpile, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, I don't know how big your stockpile is. I don't know what you keep in it, but I would think that take the time now over the next couple of weeks to do a review. Think about the things that you ran out of, that you couldn't get, that you perhaps wanted and didn't have and couldn't get, and then think about and make a plan to add them to your stockpile. You don't need to do it all at once. We've talked about this before. You can't, unless you're really wealthy, you can't just go out and buy 3 months worth of food or 12 months worth of food, because it just costs too much. So you need to work your plan. So think about it. Fill in the gaps of your stockpile. I've noticed there's not been an awful lot of specials around. In fact, they've been quite dismal. That's okay. They will come back with time, I'm sure. But last week, for instance, the hand cream I used was on half price. Now, they only had one left when I got there, so I bought one. Normally, I would get 2 because I budget for the full price. So if it's on half price, I'm going to get 2. I'm not paying any extra for the 2, but they only had 1, so I only picked up 1. Hello, Joy. Hello, Pam. Kath, can you please? What's it? I missed it. It's gone, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
I think she's going to read it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to read it. Okay. All right. So now, last week, the week before, mince was on sale. It's been coming down in price, thank goodness, over the last month or so. Started with IGA, had mince on sale. Then Tasman had mince on sale. Well, Tasman is now too far for me to go, so I didn't go there. Australian Butcher had mince on sale. I noticed Coles have dropped their price. Costco have dropped the price of their mince. So it's coming down, which is fine. And we did do, when I did my meat shop, we did buy a bit of mince, and I vacuum sealed it, portioned it out, vacuum sealed it, put it in the freezer. Last week, oh my goodness, mind blowing. Just about, I found a YouTube video, a YouTube clip, a random YouTube clip about dehydrating, because I'm looking for ways to make things more shelf stable, because the freezer's always full. But not only that, the freezer's always full, and if there's a long-term power outage, even though we can claim it back on the insurance, that's an awful lot of waste. but not just in the meat, but in my time for preparing it, because a lot of them are prepared meals or baking that's taken time to do. So I'm trying to find things that are more shelf stable so that I don't have to rely quite so much on the freezer. Found this YouTube video. She dehydrated mince. Oh my goodness. So I did a bit more research into it, and yes, you can dehydrate mince. So on Sunday afternoon, I tried it. Brilliant. And I will be doing a whole video about it because it is just brilliant. So simple. And I just want to try it. I use my dehydrator. I just want to try it and see if you can do it in the oven, because not everyone has a dehydrator. And I'll give it a try in the oven too to see how it goes. Oh my goodness, it is amazing. And then I discovered you can vacuum seal in jars flour. Now, I will vacuum seal flour. We buy it in the big bags, portion it out in 2 kilo lots, and vacuum seal it in the plastic bags, and they just stack on the shelf. But you can vacuum seal it in jars. So simple. So I'll be doing a whole video about that too. And then, folks, just because, you know, we need something light and fluffy and funny and joyful and just a treat every now and then, dehydrated marshmallows. Oh. So you can buy them or you can make them. And we haven't made marshmallow on the show, have we? No. We could do a show and show you how to make marshmallow too, because it's really easy. Dehydrated marshmallows, they turn into little, they shrink down and turn into like the texture of musk sticks, but they're marshmallow. Oh, amazing. Now, we want to try them. We're going to dehydrate some more, try them in hot chocolate and see if they swell, because years and years ago, we had some sent to us from America that were dehydrated marshmallows. And if you put them into your hot chocolate, added the hot milk or the hot water or whatever and stirred it, they swelled up. They rehydrated and swelled up. And they were just fascinating. Now, this was a long time ago. My kids were really little. We didn't have anything like that here at the time. We didn't even, I don't think we even had mini marshmallows. Let me have a drink, folks. I don't think we even had mini marshmallows at the time. But they just loved putting them in the hot chocolate and watching them swell up. So that's the next thing that we're going to try. But all these things mean that, yes, there will be gaps in my stockpile for mince. So I will be restocking as it comes on sale. But I'm going to dehydrate it and make it shelf stable. So it just goes into a jar, you vacuum seal it, leave it on the shelf. The other thing is, for camping, we can put it in, I can vacuum seal it in bags. It's flat, it's easy to rehydrate with boiling water. So all I would do for that would be sit the bag in a pot, cut it open, put the boiling water in and let it sit. And that's all you have to do to rehydrate it. It's like rehydrating TVP. You just put the boiling water over it and let it sit. 5 minutes, and it was as you would never have known it had been dry. It was amazing. Doesn't taste any different, doesn't look any different, doesn't smell any different. But for camping, it will be ideal. But then my mind kept wandering then, going with ideas. And I thought, so if I've got dried mince and dried onion, dried garlic, dried basil, dried oregano, I dried tomatoes earlier in the year and ground them to a powder. I've got tomato powder, put all that into a jar, and that's your spag bowl sauce. Just add boiling water. Your spag bowl sauce. Do the same thing with your taco sauce. You've got your dried mince, your dried onion, your dried garlic, your taco seasoning, back seal it, just add boiling water. and it rehydrates and it's done. So easy meals for home, but also easy meals for camping, for holidays, and they're shelf stable. You don't need to keep them in the fridge. You don't need to keep them in the freezer. Mind blowing. I'm also experimenting with dehydrating frozen veggies to see how they work. I've been reading up on this for quite a while and haven't tried it with the frozen veg yet. I do use dried peas and corn and carrots when we go away camping, but if I can dry our own from frozen, dry them, pack them in the jar and take them away, so much easier. And again, they're shelf stable. I don't need to put them in the freezer. So they're the things I've been working on since I talked to you last week. These things, as well as thinking about how I can rebuild the stockpile. The other thing I've noticed is there's still some shortages. There's still some blank spots in the shelves in supermarkets. So you need to be aware of what you're missing so that when you see it, you can pick it up as you need it, instead of thinking that things are completely back to normal, because they're not quite yet. Have you also noticed? Sorry, I just saw a comment there. Julie dehydrates frozen veg. Perfect. Oh, I love the dehydrator. I use it all the time. Do herbs all the time. Onions, because I buy onions in the 10-kilo bags. So some get sliced, some get diced, some get dried. Perfect. Wow. Dehydrators aren't expensive. If you don't have one, they're between $50 and $70 for a 3 to 5 tray basic model, which will do just fine. It works really well. Mine's 1, 2, 3 tray Aldi, and I've been using it for over 10 years. I think it was about $40, $39.95 or something when I bought it. It has temperature control on it, so you can decide what temperature you're going to dry things at. It works really well. You don't need a brand new whiz bang fantastic $800 Excalibur or something like that. You just don't need them. It's the same with your mixers and things. You don't need them. Your food processors, you don't need them. How can I put this? It's like when Wayne wants something, he automatically gravitates to the top of the range. And that's nice to have the top of the range, but often top of the range comes with a whole heap of bells and whistles that you pay for that you will never use. That also makes the appliance that much more complicated to use, that you give up because it's just too fussy and it's too hard. Whereas you have something that you just bring out, put your food in, stack it up, turn it on, you will use it. It will get used and it will be worth the money. So you don't need to spend a lot of money. And yeah, as Delaney said, look off Recycle. Ask around your friends. Tell them you're looking for a dehydrator on a budget. Ask them if they know of anyone that dehydrates. Put a notice in your local store window. Do something. You don't have to spend a lot of money on kitchen appliances. So, yeah, Joy got an Aldi one too. I've had mine for a long time. It was the very first year Aldi had dehydrators. And I was so excited because I could afford it. And I'd always wanted one. And it gets used all summer long, all summer and most of autumn long. with drying capsicum, herbs, tomatoes, tomato skins dry and get ground into powder, carrots, mushrooms. If you're drying mushrooms, do them outside because they really smell bad. So I always put the mushrooms out in the veranda. Sweet potato, slice your sweet potato. I have a mandolin and I set it to the thinnest slice and slice them, spread them out, dry them. Sweet potato is really good dried. Make chips with it. You can do all sorts of things. So yeah. I know, A1. It's just that he really likes me to have the best. But the best isn't always the biggest and brightest with the most bells and whistles. So when we're looking for a washing machine, and a dishwasher, I just want something I can put dirty dishes in and pull clean dishes out. It doesn't have to do anything else. I don't need all sorts of different programs and push buttons and things. I like one knob where I can turn it on, push the button, that's it. I don't like bells and whistles. Make it too complicated, you can't use it and you don't enjoy it. So 9 tracks caliber, yep. The only thing is your Excalibur probably has a timer on it, Julie. Does it? Because that's the one thing I missed on the Aldi one. It didn't have a timer. It does have the thermostat. It didn't have a timer, but in all honesty, most stuff takes hours anyway, so it's never been a huge problem. Hello, Yvonne. Maureen, okay. Flour in the freezer. I keep my flour in the freezer. Just keeps it, everything comes in, goes in the freezer. Bring it out. Right. To vacuum seal your flour, you will want your pasta sauce jars or jars that will vacuum seal. So, you know, that with the pop top lid or something like that, or your ball jars or Fowler's jars, something like that. What you need to do is put your flour in a casserole dish. Put it in the oven at around 110 Celsius. All right. You leave it in the oven for about an hour to an hour and a half. You want the flour to be warm. Now, it won't hurt your flour. It doesn't hurt the flour. It doesn't hurt the self-raising flour. It's fine. It will, if you haven't had it in the freezer, that will kill any weevils or eggs that are in it. So you don't have to worry about that. Then pop your jars and lids, or your lid's going to leave your lids out. But pop your jars in the oven for about the last 20 minutes to half an hour, so they're hot and they're sterilised. Hot flour into hot jars, put the lids on just like you do when you're making jam. So you'll wipe around the top of the lid so it will seal. A little bit of paper towel dipped in vinegar will do that really well. Put your lid on, tighten it up. Use a tea towel or a dishcloth or something because that will be really hot. Set them aside and let them cool. And same as when we make jam, you'll hear that as the little thing seals, and it's shelf stable. Now it's good for 5 to 7 years like that on your shelf. Perfectly fine. And there's no bugs in it. There's no air in it. It will last and last and last. Of course, if you can get bigger jars that will vacuum seal, if anyone's got the bigger ball jars, then you can do bigger quantities, but it works really, really well. But the secret is hot flour into hot jars and put your lids on. Don't have your lids in boiling water. They need to be dry. Okay, so whereas with jam, I keep my lids in boiling water. For the flour, they've been washed, they've been dried, and they go on the jar dry. You don't want any moisture in the jar with the flour. And that's how you do it. It's really so simple. The alternative is to weigh it out like I used to in 2 kilo lots, put it into a vacuum sealer bag, you need to put a piece of paper towel over the top of it, vacuum seal it, and you put the paper towel over the top of it so that the flour doesn't get sucked up with the force as it's sucking out the air. It doesn't get sucked up and ruin the seal. You can do it that way too. But the jars are reusable. Everybody's got them. Really handy. So, if that makes sense, let's hope so. Right, well, okay, now I've lost Maureen. You can get a food saver lid vacuum on Amazon. Yeah, I haven't got mine handy. You can get an attachment to a food saver that will vacuum seal jars. There's a bigger one, a wide mouth one, and a narrow mouth one. They're not terribly expensive. You can get them from Amazon. You can get them from Ozfarm. You can get them from the bottle place in Carrum Downs. Is it Aussie Preserving Jars, Aussie Preserving Bottles? They're in Carrum Downs. Have them. If you've got a food saver, all you need is the tubing for the attachment and the bottle thing, and it will vacuum seal jars too. I've never had dirty dishes come out of my dishwasher, Estelle. I have 3 different brands. They're all good, but the Clerks one takes a bit longer than the other 2. I run them overnight out in the laundry. Dehydrator, obviously. Okay. Okay, if your dishwasher is damaging plastics, it's not the dishwasher, it's the plastics. Only put them up the top and try and lay them flat so that they don't warp. If you hook them into the racks and things, as they get warm from the water, they will warp. That will damage them. If your element's down the bottom, don't put them down the bottom. They will melt. What else did I say? Pots. Most dishwashers, even dishwashers with a pot cycle, are not meant to scrub pots. They will wash pots, but they won't scrub them. So with your pots, if you really want to put your pots in, I don't put pots in the dishwasher very often, scrape them, soak them. As soon as you finish dishing up, soak the pot, scrape it, then put it into the dishwasher. It'll come out clean. The glass lids on my pots, I do sometimes put them in if I'm feeling a bit lazy, but they don't come out shiny like they do when you scrub them and dry them. So, yeah. The advantage of vacuum sealing your flour just means that if you are able to get a lot of flour and you don't use it, use a lot of it. We go through heaps of flour. So heaps and heaps of flour. But, you know, if you're not a baker, you don't use a lot of flour. You might only use 2 kilos a month or something. But if you can buy the bigger packets, you do save a bit of money. If you can vacuum seal them and have it shelf stable, then it doesn't matter if you take 2 or 3 years to use that, you know, 5 or 10 or 12 kilos of flour. It doesn't matter. It will still be perfectly good because it's been vacuum sealed, it's been sterilized, it's fine to use. So, a lactose-free ice cream container and lid, no problem on the top shelf of the dishwasher. Yeah, I used to be with Tupperware. Used to have they used to do their lifetime guarantee. They've changed that a bit now. But if an item had been through the dishwasher and it was warped or had melted out of shape, they wouldn't replace it because if you read the fine print of guarantee, it's only dishwasher safe for the top shelf of your dishwasher, the top rack, top basket, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. All right. Now, as well as your grocery stockpile for rebuilding, because we got a bit off track then, think about your laundry stockpile. So, laundry soap, borax, washing soda, eucalyptus oil, white vinegar, all the things that you use in your laundry. If you use laundry detergent, do you have enough? Do those things need to be replaced? And the same with your toiletries, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, conditioner, mouthwash, cotton buds for ears. What else was I thinking? Oh, makeup. Who'd have thought it would be hard to get makeup? Some makeup sold out and were hard to get. And I guess if they were imported, they probably will be for a while yet. So makeup might be a bit hard to come by. Those sorts of things, as well as your paper goods, your toilet paper, your serviettes, your paper towel, whatever, like that. Think about those things too, because those little stockpiles will need to be topped up. Look at your medicine cabinet and see what needs to be topped up. Do you need to top up the paracetamol? Do you have children that you might need to top up the cough medicine or whatever? Make sure that you can do that and keep them topped up, just so that you don't run out. Again, this isn't panic buying, and it's not hoarding. It's not being greedy. It's not, taking food out of people's mouths. You are planning ahead for your family so that if a lockdown comes, we come back to lockdown and you can't go out again, you don't have to worry. You can still eat. You can still stay clean. You can still clean your house. You can still do your gardening. Diggers have started selling seeds again for members only. I'm not sure how long that will last. I've noticed that most of the seed companies are back to selling seeds online anyway. I haven't looked anywhere else for seeds. But you might want to think about topping up your seeds. If you don't, you might have a gap in your seeds. I couldn't find my parsnip or my turnip seeds, and I know I have them. Couldn't find them anywhere. And then, of course, by the time I wanted them, I couldn't get them. So when Diggers came back online, I quickly ordered a packet of each. So vacuum seal and dry and use the food safe for attachment along with your food saver and ball jars. You can vacuum seal rice, pasta, flour, etc. Dried fruits, nuts. Nuts are really good to be vacuum sealed because they're quite oily and they will go rancid. So if you vacuum seal them, it helps with that sort of thing. Hot chocolate mix. I was watching someone vacuum seal breadcrumbs because they made heaps and heaps of breadcrumbs, so they vacuum sealed the breadcrumbs. Made sense to me. Paula, seeds are funny things. Even if they say they last a long time, do they? You can go for the sinkers, floaters type. Do the sinkers or floaters test and see if they're good, viable. I usually find if your if your seeds are a little bit older, so probably 2 or 3 years old or a bit older than that, soak them overnight before you plant them. Just put them in a dish, cover them with a bit of cold water and let them sit overnight and then plant them, and you'll get, well, actually most seeds, you'll get a much better germination rate if you do that before you plant them, and you don't have to worry. Julie, yes, I've been looking at the rice because that then becomes, if you cook your rice, folks, if you cook your rice, then dehydrate it, it becomes like the instant rice. Have you seen the Uncle Ben's, I think it is, in the supermarket, in the foil sachets of instant rice? It becomes like that. It just rehydrates with boiling water really quickly and easily. Now, I've never been a fan of cooking extra rice and freezing it, simply because rice cooks pretty quickly anyway. I do my rice in the microwave, 1 cup of rice to 1 cup of water, 12 minutes in the microwave. If I'm doing 2 cups of rice, 2 cups of water, 15 minutes in the microwave. And if I'm doing 3 cups, it's 18 to 20 minutes, depending on the rice. Someone asked the question, I think I answered it last week, about what sort of rice I use. Whatever rice is on sale when I'm buying it. I'm not a rice snob, and I can tell jasmine rice because it has that distinct flavour, but the others, seriously, short grain, long grain, basmati, whatever, rice to me is rice. I'm sorry for the purists out there, but I'm a bit of a rice heathen, I guess, but rice to me is rice. So I just use whatever the cheapest rice is when I'm buying it. For long-term storage for your seeds, Paula, put them in an envelope, label them, keep them dry. Keep them in the dark and in the dry. Find a shoe box, or you might have a pretty soap box or something someone's given you that can become your seed box. Just label them whatever they are, put them in the envelope, keep them dry, and in a cool, dark spot, they'll be fine. They will keep. Kathy, no, I don't. To microwave rice, I use a 2-litre container, a 2-litre microwave bowl. So 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of water into that. Make sure you need a big dish or a big bowl, a big casserole dish, a big Pyrex bowl, a big microwave safe dish. So the 2-litre one is nice and deep, because it will boil up. Now, you've cooked rice on the stove and had it boil over, it will do that in the microwave too. So you do need a decent size container to cook it in. But then once it's gone ding and it's cooked, I just fluff it with a fork. It's ready to serve. Easy as. And then the container is really easy to clean. While we're eating, I just put a little bit of cold water in it and swish it round, let it sit. When we come out, it gets wiped out and put away. It's clean. It's easy to clean. So I like doing rice in the microwave like that, because I tend to put things on the stove, then get sidetracked, and that's when they burn or they boil over or catch fire or something exciting happens. So I tend to try and do things that if I get distracted, it's not going to matter too much. Yep, freeze your seeds, that's fine. Okay. Are we keeping you up, Hannah? We are. She's a bit like me. No, Kathy, I don't rinse it first. You can if you want to. I don't. It's just 1 of rice, same 1 of water, swirl it round. Sometimes, depends what we're going to have with it. Sometimes I might add a little stock powder to it to flavour it. So if we're having it with honey mustard chicken or something, I might be having rice with it. I will put a little bit of stock powder, chicken stock powder in it, maybe a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, depending on what comes out of the container, in it just to flavour it. That's it. If I'm doing it for tacos, once it's not tacos, burritos or fajitas, once it's cooked, I squeeze a lime or a lemon, whatever I've got in the bowl, over it, and some chopped coriander just gets forked through with it. For that, that's all I do to it. It's really easy. I did a microwave cooking course a long time ago, a long time ago, when we were first married. And one of the things, that's where they taught me I learned to cook the rice like that. One of the things that the instructor there did was always added a tablespoon of oil to the water that she cooked the rice in. And I did that for a little while because, of course, that's what I was taught to do. I don't do that anymore. I don't do it because I don't really think it makes that much difference. We don't really need all that extra fat in our diet. And a tablespoon of oil to a cup of or 2 cups of cooked rice is a lot of oil. So I don't do that. I have been known to put dried onion in the rice and cook it, depending on what we're having with it, to flavour it. yeah, it's really simple. But having a bigger container than you think you will need, a bigger pot than you think you will need, is the secret. Hello, Victoria. What would store the flour? Jars, pasta sauce jars, or ball jars, or anything like that. Any jars that will vacuum seal. So they come in all different shapes and sizes now. I have some that I use. They're about about a litre, I suppose they hold, that are quite good. They vacuum seal, anything like that. Any jar that will vacuum seal if you want to keep your flour in jars. Oh, that's a good idea, Delaney. Large casserole dish under the container to catch spills. Very good. Okay, so, folks, I'm just going to say no. Eggs can be dehydrated and blitzed to a powder, then used as dried egg. Ooh, I'm not sure I'd like that. I don't know about dried egg. I am thinking of doing steaming some pumpkin and some sweet potato and spreading it on the fruit leather mesh and drying it, then blitzing it to powder to add to the cream of anything soup mix to make pumpkin soup, instant pumpkin cuppa soups. I'll let you know how that goes. Pumpkins have been really cheap at Pellegrino's this week, 59 cents a kilo for Jap, so that's pretty good. Sorry. Any ideas for a coriander alternative? Oh, yeah, see, I'm not a fan of coriander either, so I just leave it out. Parsley, I just leave it out. Really? I'm the cook, so I get to choose what goes in. Someone else wants to cook, they can choose what goes in. But when I'm cooking, I choose the ingredients, so it's made for my taste. I'm not a fan of coriander either. I find it a bit overpowering, so it doesn't taste like soap, but I find it...
It's nice and salty.
I find it a bit... Okay. Our half-acre homestead has a video about dehydrating eggs. Thank you, Kerry. All right. Flat leaf parsley, yep. Okay. Oh, are you, Kerry? Oh, have fun there. They've had some really good specials. I haven't been for a couple of weeks, but anyway. Okay. Joy, happy to, maybe next week we'll do a dehydrating show. See how that goes, and I'll show you what we've got and what we use and how we do it. When I was doing the mince at the weekend, all I did was use baking paper and punched holes in it, cut it to fit the trays and punched holes in it. So it probably took a little bit longer to dry doing that, but it worked. Parsley is, you're telling parsley is really, really good for men. All men should have parsley supplement. It is very, very good for the prostate. There you go. Okay, I'm getting a wind up, so I have to go. Thank you all for joining me. If you've liked the show, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And if you'd like to be notified when there's a new show coming up or a new video uploaded, click the bell and you'll be notified. And I will see you same time next Tuesday, and we'll talk dehydrators and dehydrating, and I'll show you what I've been doing. That will be fun. Thank you again for joining me. I've really appreciated it. I shall see you all next week. Bye.